New York City is, they don't learn, right? You would think after a while that people would start to say, okay, these policies haven't worked. When Rudy Giuliani was there, by the way, New York City was safe. Mm-hmm. It was profitable. Yep. People wanted to go there. Crime is high. You have people defecating on the streets. You have, they had crack pipe vending machines there a couple months ago or last summer, whatever that was, where they had vending machines where you could buy your pipes. In states like New York, too, capitalism is the way out of these problems. But what they continue to push is socialism, right? It's tax the rich. Let's have more people living off the system, and let's have less people in the workforce. Kamala Harris and her friends and Joe Biden and his friends want to continue to push this idea that government everything. It never works.
Welcome to the Michele Tafoya podcast.
So Mike Sperrazza is a guy that I met online. Doesn't that sound goofy now? I met him online. We found each other on Twitter, X, and he is really an interesting fellow, as you could hear. He's from Buffalo. He's Italian. And he's a big-time Bills fan. But he is also a financial brain. He's wired around money, and he helps people with their finances. And he's got a very interesting perspective. He is also unapologetically pro-Trump. I'm going to let him tell you why. I'm going to let him tell you what he sees as some of the bigger problems facing us, and whether or not he's optimistic or pessimistic, not only about the financial future, but about the political future of America. He's an interesting dude. I'm glad to have a chance to introduce him to you. Before I forget, please download, subscribe, give us a star or 2 or 3 or 4. Give us a rating. We'd love to have you on board so that you never miss an episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. Thank you for doing that. Coming up next, meet Mike Sperrazza of The Financial Guy. All right, Mike, thanks for joining us. We have found each other on Twitter, on X, whatever. And, it's interesting to me because you are a financial guy. You're of a financial mind. And I'm just wondering how that influences the way that you look at the political realities of today in America.
Yeah, so I think a big thing as a business owner, too, you look at what goes on. And I'm in New York State, so it's not the most business-friendly state out there. But everything in the world has to do about money, right? And I talk about this about the stock market all the time. People look at the stock market as that's the end all be all. And when you look at the economy, but it's not, because a lot of people, a large percentage of people don't even invest or have money to invest in the stock market. So as good as the market would be, and this goes whether it's Trump or under Harris or Biden, it doesn't matter. There's more to the economy than just the stock market and what the stock market number is. And I think that's sometimes forgotten because people look at the market, oh, my money's going up. But if you don't have a lot of money in the market, or you don't have any money in the market, you're not winning, especially in an economy like we're seeing today with inflation the way it is. I mean, I said this on our recording this morning. Going to the local McDonald's for a family of 2 or 3 people used to be, $15, $20. Now It's $40 to $50. It's
incredible.
I really wonder sometimes how people survive. You go to the grocery store, same thing. What used to be $75, $80, now $130. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of issues with where we are in the economy right now. Interest rates, getting a home that was, let's say, $400,000, and that used to be a $2,000 a month mortgage. Now it's $3,000. A lot of people cannot handle that major uptick, especially when you're talking about all these things at the same time, which is what we're seeing across America. And it's not a good bet for many people. And that's why you're seeing poverty levels the way they are. Excuse me. You're seeing people struggle, live paycheck to paycheck. It's not a good time for many people across the country.
Well, one of Kamala Harris's big pushes has been, as she said, hey, look, there's price. Well, she said gauging. She said there's price gouging.
Yes.
And we know that supermarkets make a very small profit margin, very small. Now, maybe if you're talking iPhones and Mac computers and Samsung, their profit margin might be a little bit bigger. But when she says, we're going to stop price gouging, isn't price gouging already illegal?
Yeah, I also think the other thing to think about there, too, is when you talk about a lot of these industries, I want to go back to what you said real quick. I have a client, a major client of mine who's a grocery store owner. She tells me all the time, she's like, this idea that, we're gauging or gouging the public is just not the case. I mean, you're looking at 1% to 2% margins in grocery stores. You look at the pizzeria owner, the local fast food person, it's the same thing. the industry I'm in, I own an insurance agency and my partner's on the financial planning firm. These margins are not what they think, or, and I use, Michelle, you're a former NFL sideline reporter. The idea that these NFL team owners they're just billionaires. They have all this cash just sitting in the account. The value of their team is worth the billions. I'm not saying they don't do well. They do plenty well. But my point is, but you're looking at the NFL owner. It's not like he has $4 billion in cash where he just sits there and grabs it when he feels like it. They're paying employees. They're paying salaries of players, coaches. They have to upkeep of the stadium, all those different things. I think that gets lost sometimes, and everybody just says tax the rich. Okay.
Yeah.
But the rich also are the ones employing all the people. So if and you look at the AI technology that we're getting, smart business owners are moving towards that. They don't have to deal with the employee that's hungover. They don't have to deal with the employee that doesn't show up to work. They're going to just make robots do everything for them, or get these high technology, whether calling systems, whatever it may be. And that's a problem, because then you have less people in the workforce. That kills the economy. These business-friendly states like Florida are growing tremendously. Texas, same thing. Business owners are moving there. High net worth people are moving there. Why? Because they're business-friendly and they want people to do business there, and they want people to spend money there. New York does the opposite. They have tons of regulations for business owners. They have high taxes. That's not a winning formula in this world, in this country. And we're seeing it in these blue states. And that's what scares me. When you run out of the high net worth, high income earners, what does that leave you with? People that don't pay taxes. And then the states have to go back to the federal government to get more money. And we're out of money as it is, Michelle. We don't have the money now.
No question. I don't understand why, if this is, it seems to me this is something that's been proven again and again over time, that when you drive away high earners, when you aren't a business-friendly environment, when you raise the corporate tax rates, all those things that make it less friendly to do business, it's a class warfare strategy, right? It's a way to make people feel better that the rich guys, the bad guys, quote unquote, are paying their fair share. But as you said, then this money migrates away from these environments. So A, why do you stay in New York? B, have you ever thought about leaving New York? And C, why does New York stay this way?
So I can't answer the last question, because and I say that because I don't know what the hell they do here. I can't answer what their thought process is. Other than people have to vote better. But in terms of why do I stay here, I have a family here, a friend group here. Will I stay here forever? If things keep going the way they are, maybe not. But it's hard. And I say that for citizens of the state too. It's hard to just pick up and leave if your grandkids are here, if your children are here, if your parents are here, whatever it may be. It's hard to just pick up and leave. And for me, I have a business with thousands of clients here. My partners have thousands of clients. To just pick up and say, hey, we'll work with you from Florida is not necessarily as easy. It can be done.
Right.
But you got to think about your clients too. Will we move? Well, one of my business partners already lives in Jupiter, Florida. We have offices in Jupiter, Florida. So we do have an out, I guess, to go down there. And then to answer your last question, I guess, in the way I can, why does New York do what it does? I don't know. I don't really know why politicians like Kathy Hochul continue to do what they do, and our local Erie County executive, the same thing. Their policies are not working, yet they keep double and tripling down on what they do.
I don't get it.
I'll tell you one thing. I blame voters for part of it, because the voters keep getting slapped in the face, and they don't, it's like the bully. You keep getting bullied. You got to go back at the bully once in a while. I don't mean physically.
Right.
I mean with your
Your
voting.
vote. Yeah.
With your mouth, right? You got to go back at them and fight back at it. And New York, we get a little bit in trouble because of New York City too. New York City runs this state essentially in terms of voting, and that hurts us. I think Buffalo, New York is more conservative than most people realize. Maybe not the inner city part of Buffalo, but a lot of the suburbs where I'm from, where our office is, they are more red than blue. And but you can't make up for whatever it is in New York, 18 million people.
And that's the other interesting part of this. I live in Minnesota, and I can say the same thing. The twin cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, what we call the metro area, those two cities and kind of the surrounding suburbs. You drive 20, 30 minutes in any direction out of that metro, and it's very conservative. And you see Trump signs all over the place, right? So it is really interesting how these cities become this way. And I think one of the things is you can only vote in a city if you live there. If you work there, you live in the suburbs, you're not voting in that city. So a lot of these people with the greatest stake, the business owners, the people who commute into the cities, the people who work there and spend so much of their lives in those cities aren't actually voters there, but they have to live with the outcome of the voters.
No, and I think what's frustrating is when you look at, and again, I'm from Buffalo, but you look at New York State as a whole, New York City is, they don't learn, right? You would think after a while that people would start to say, okay, these policies haven't worked. When Rudy Giuliani was there, by the way, New York City was safe. It was profitable.
Yep.
People wanted to go there. I told you this on my show that we did today. My dad is from Queens, New York, loves New York, grew up there, was there until 1991, loved New York City, talks greatly about it. He doesn't like to go there anymore, right? And that's his stomping grounds. That's where he's from. He doesn't want to go there anymore because he doesn't feel safe there. And by the way, he can't carry a firearm there because they don't allow that in the inner city, or in the five boroughs. So I wish I had an answer of why these people would keep voting that way, but crime is high. You have people defecating on the streets. You have, they had crack pipe vending machines there a couple months ago or last summer, whatever that was, where they had vending machines where you could buy your pipes. That is not a winning formula. And I think until people in those communities say, I'm done with it, I can't do this anymore, I want to go walk to the grocery store to get a loaf of bread without getting shot. I mean, you look at, again, I use you with the sports, but in San Francisco, rookie receiver goes out to the grocery store and gets shot by a 17-year-old. I mean, these cities, if I was an NFL player, I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to, my whole body is my career. I don't want to go play there where I'm getting shot going to get a loaf of bread. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing. And I want to go back to, because I forgot to answer your question a little bit about the price gauging thing. In states like New York too, capitalism is the way out of these problems. But what they continue to push is socialism, right? It's tax the rich. Let's have more people living off the system and let's have less people in the workforce. Capitalism fixes all that, because if you have to go get a job and you have these big companies that want to employ people and make money in those states and those cities, that will fix all these problems. But instead, Kamala Harris and her friends and Joe Biden and his friends want to continue to push this idea that government everything. It never works. Look at the DMV. I don't know how you guys are in Minnesota, but
it's terrible.
Look at that. Go call the IRS and try and figure out your tax issues. That takes 7 years to get done. I mean, government everything, Barack Obama's website that they charged hundreds of millions of dollars to make. Yeah. I mean, how'd that work out? Right. I mean, government run everything never works. Look at Elon Musk. His company figures out ways to get stuff done. I almost swore on the show. I can't. I'm so used to my podcast. Get stuff done. That's what the private sector does. Government doesn't. And until the population of America figures that out, people at places like New York City, Chicago, Baltimore, San Francisco, until they figure it out, Michelle, I don't know what to tell them.
Hey, I love my friends at besthotgrill.com. They also make the best gas logs for your fireplace. And now's the time to prep for the colder fall and winter seasons that are fast approaching. And with rising energy costs, oh my gosh, have you looked at your bills? You'll want to warm one room, not your entire home, with a blazing Rasmussen gas log fire. With the convenience and controllability of a natural gas or propane gas log set, you can reduce the time you use your furnace. Gas logs are also an excellent source of emergency heat to keep your family warm during those pesky power outages. Rasmussen gas logs also make your fireplace look great when it's not in use. If your room has a modern or contemporary design, check out Rasmussen's popular fireballs and firestones. Get a free personalized log set sizing recommendation and more information about USA-made Rasmussen gas logs and Solaire infrared grills at besthotgrill.com. That's besthotgrill.com. USA made. Don't we love that? Rasmussen gas logs and Solaire infrared grills at besthotgrill.com. All right, so you have one child?
I have one child.
A daughter.
Yes.
And how do you see education going for her? Not only in, you can only speak to the area that you live in, but this seems to me that I guess it's not high on the list when you ask people what their priorities are in terms of how they want to vote. Education's not way up there, but I think a lot of people do care. And we've seen, again, public government run schools really fail at least half of our kids. What do you see in New York?
Yeah, I mean, we have our issues here for sure on that end. I mean, you look at where I'm from, again, Buffalo, the city schools in Buffalo are graduating kids at a lower rate than they should be. Where I'm from, my suburb of Buffalo that I'm from, luckily is a school that I coached at for a little while. I coached football there. I know a lot of the teachers and staff there, and they're very good from what I know. So I can hope that it stays that way for my daughter one day. But, I don't know why parents don't care about this stuff more. It seems that maybe they're turning a blind eye, or they're just, not paying attention. I don't know. But one thing that I will say is men will not be going to the bathroom with my daughter. She will be not in that school if that's going on. Men will not be competing with my daughter. She will not be playing a sport in that district if that's the case. Because for the flip side, Michelle, I don't want girls coming into men's bathrooms either. If I had a son, this is not how it works. I'm an adult, right? You are an adult. I don't want to be going to the bathroom with women, and I don't want women coming to the bathroom with me. It doesn't work. We've gone decades, centuries of not doing that. We shouldn't start now. I don't know why all of a sudden that's a thing. But that plus I do wish, the country as a whole would pay attention to, deeper issues with education and how debt works and how people should manage their lifestyle. Go ahead.
It's really mind blowing to me that certainly the economy is always at the top of the list for everybody, right? But coming in second, I think immigration and abortion are like tied. Yeah. And I keep wondering to myself, hey, look, I'm a female and I'm pro-choice, by the way. Yeah. With exceptions, I'm not like this rah, go get an abortion. I think there are plenty of ways to stop an unwanted pregnancy so that you don't have to think about an abortion. But if you do, you should have the choice. That's my personal opinion. Having said that, it's nowhere even close to the top 5 of it may not even be in the top 10 of my priorities. When I look at a world on fire, when I look at the border, when I look at Aurora, Colorado, when I look at New York, to where I travel very, very often, and I, like your dad, feel nervous about it. When I look at the corruption in government, when I look at how left-leaning media and academia are, when I look at San Francisco, the town that my dad grew up in and used to love, all of these things, and it just feels like we're in a place I've never seen in my lifetime. We've certainly been here as a country. What gives you hope we get out of this?
Well, I think, the last 4 years may have helped that, with the fact that we've just gone downhill in pretty much every category possible, whether it be immigration numbers, illegal immigration numbers, that is, whether it be, you said the world is on fire, literally. You look at, inflation, gas prices, grocery store prices. I mean, for most people that have a functioning brain, they're looking at this saying, this is not winning. And yeah, we might not like Trump. And I've had a lot of people that know I'm a big Trump guy, but a lot of people that would have never, approved of the idea of another Trump presidency saying to me, like, maybe we should go back to that for another 4 years. Right. And that, I think, means a lot. Mm-hmm. On my show, we talked about the African-American community. We talked about the Hispanic community. Those communities are starting to go back Trump in record numbers. And I think that helps him tremendously. But until, and I mean this, whether whoever wins this election, until America and the citizens of America pay attention and care about the issues that are important. And you bring up abortion. I just wanted to say this. Most people, and I'm saying this in my inner circle, Donald Trump says it. There is a place for abortion if you want to have an abortion, whether it be, the rape, incest, or, early term. Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm okay with that. My problem with abortion is when you have a pop-up abortion tent at the DNC, that to me is it's just sickening. Like, I don't know why you brag about that, or why it's like you champion it like you won the Super Bowl because you had an abortion. It's sickening, honestly. And it's mentally ill, to be honest with you. I don't understand it. I think that you need to hold people accountable. And if you want to have 15 abortions because that's what you believe in, then pay for it on your own and do it on your own dollar.
Agreed.
Don't put it on mine, because to me, that's sickening. Look, I would never tell a woman what to do, Michelle. I will say that. It is a woman's choice, and they can have their choice of what they want to do, but we can't champion it, and we can't act like it's just this birth control, form that,
right.
Hey, you don't want to take birth control, you don't want to use a condom, great, just go have as many abortions as you want. That's just not right to me, and it doesn't sit well with me. And that's me speaking as a conservative. I know that a lot of conservatives get mad when you say you're not anti-abortion, but I've always been the same way as you. Do what you need to do, but don't do it on my dollar, and don't be killing kids at 8 months. That's just sickening to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, if they want to say that it doesn't matter if it's at 8 months, that's between me and my doctor. Well, that's another story.
Yeah.
If there's a major issue, that's another story. But just ending a pregnancy for the sake of ending a pregnancy at 8 months, you're right. That's sick. We know it's been done. We know it's happened.
And one other thing I'd say too, the argument of the rape and incest part, by the way, is less than 1% and far less than 1% of the abortions out there.
Yeah.
So that argument I don't even like to put in there, because we're talking about the people that just get pregnant and don't care to have the child.
Right.
And if you are, this goes back to my point before about being irresponsible too. We keep building up this society of just not being responsible, whether that be with your money, whether that be with your job, your career, your schools, whatever it is. Make people accountable for what they're doing. And I, as a business owner, have learned that it's not fun necessarily. It all falls on me as a business owner, but that is the responsibility I have to my clients. That's the responsibility I have to my employees. And that's a good thing to have responsibility and to have accountability. More people should have that and feel that every day. Just like in your world with coaches, there is not a tougher job in the world, maybe, than other than maybe the president, but being a coach of a college football team, a pro football team, in hours you could lose your job. And that is what makes them so competitive and make them work so hard, is because they know their career and their lives rely on that. We need more of that in America. I've said that a long time. We need more accountability, and we need more pride in ourselves. People need to have pride in what they do and who they are. And we've just lost that. And that's why I'm pessimistic on our country right now, because until we get that back, the love of country, the love of your family, your career, or whatever you do, I don't have high hopes for what we're doing.
Okay, then after this quick break, I'm going to ask you how we do that right after this.
Okay, yep.
So, honest question. Are you feeling overwhelmed by the increasing cost of health insurance? Have you had enough of not having control over your healthcare dollars? Introducing Share Right, healthcare done the right way. At Share Right, you're not just a number. You're part of a caring community. And forget about paying excessive premiums. With Share Right, you stand to save 30 to 50% compared to health insurance. Think about what you could do with all those savings. But it's more than just savings. Share Right ensures you have access to the care you deserve precisely when you need it, from routine checkups to unexpected emergencies. With Share Right, your healthcare is their top priority. Empower yourself today by taking control of your healthcare costs. Visit shareright.org/Tafoya, Tafoya. It's right there on your screen to learn more and see how much you can save. Share Right, so SHARE and then RIGHT, all one word, .org/Tafoya. That's shareright.org/TAFOYA for healthcare done the right way. So I agree with you. I think that many Americans have been taught to whether you want to say hate the country or find the country irredeemably racist, whatever they want. You know, you've got the Robin DiAngelos of the world saying if you were born in the West, you're automatically a white supremacist. Yeah. It's like an academic subject now, that race permeates everything. And I remember I recently saw this clip of Sidney Poitier. He's being interviewed and he said, "Why are you looking at this one part of who and what I am? I'm a man, I'm an American, I'm an artist, but you just want to talk to me about these riots involving Black people. Why? He was asking the media this. Yep. How do we get here and how do we get out?
Well, I think we got here. You just said it, the media. I think that's a big part of it. I think the Democrats, I disagree with the formula they've used, but they've integrated schools and they've colleges, high schools, you name it. They've turned this narrative that America is inherently racist, that white men hate women, they hate, African American people, which we all know is not true. And it's not hard to figure that out, right? I mean, some of the most influential and powerful people in America are African American.
Mm.
When you look at, I'm just using athletes for a second, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. We had a president that was African American for 8 years in Barack Obama. You have an African American woman who's the vice president now running for president. If America was inherently racist, that just couldn't happen, right? And that's just not the case. How do we fix it? I think you kind of got to, tear it down and restart. I think you need to get rid of a lot of these, board of education type of departments and things that are causing some of these issues. I think you need to go back to actually talking about the facts and not having a media that's so slanted one way. We talk about on my podcast, Michelle, you look at MSNBC, CNN, ABC News, NBC News, they're all saying the same things, right? And if you have your own authentic thoughts, I'm going to keep using that word that I use on my podcast too. If you're authentic, you would have different beliefs than just what they tell you to say. But for some reason, all these talking points come out with the same 7 words. It doesn't add up. And it's to me, they're pushing a message that they want. But I think it comes down to the American voter. The American voter needs to go back and say, when is my life better? When the Democrats run and they're running the country or the city or the state, or the Republicans? And not every Republican's great either, because I have my problems with them. But when you look at these same cities, Michelle, that have been a disaster for 10, 20, 30 years, they're run by the same people.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah.
So you have to make a change and want that change. And until again, it's hard because I say this all the time too. The media is a powerful weapon. And when you just regurgitate all this stuff and you hear the same stuff, it's hard not to think outside the box because you believe the media.
Yeah. And I also think that this is going to be a tough ship to turn around. And the reason being, let's just start with the media. People who have a ton of money, Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, you have George Soros running a lot of the messaging around the country, around the world. Now you get Rupert Murdoch comes in and develops Fox, right? And they've got a different approach. So capitalism is great. And I am a capitalist. It seems to me, though, as long as there are super rich people in charge of those things, they get to say and do what they want and influence the way they want. I don't know how we shift that.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, again, I think what the biggest problem, even no matter what media site it is, right? I watch Fox a lot. I've seen you on Fox before, but I will do my own homework and think about things logically and think outside the box and, again, just research things. And I think that's been lost. We've become so lazy, and I'm not calling people out to be mean on that, but
no, I get it.
We've become so lazy. I mean, look at sports talk radio. Everybody has the answer on how the Bills should win the Super Bowl. I'm a Buffalo guy. If they just did this, well, okay, It's not how it works. If you were around football for more than 5 minutes, you'd realize that's not how it works, right? The analytics I hear about all the time. If they just followed the analytics, they'll win a Super Bowl. No, it doesn't work that way. Yes, maybe they win a game or two more or something, but we have to think outside the box and be realistic about things. I think if you just listen, it doesn't matter what it is. Look at COVID. If you listen to the doctors that knew everything, Michelle,
follow the science,
you maybe would have done a few things wrong, right? If you did your own homework and researched things and made a decision for yourself, maybe you'd be happier. Maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. But that's just one example. And I think until we're not lazy and until we actually put the time in, life is very hard. There's a lot of dynamics in life. Life was not meant to be easy. It was not meant to just follow somebody's lead. You got to be a leader, no matter if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, if you're an insurance agent, if you're a media person. You can't just listen to people and expect that that's going to get you through life, because it won't. And until we do that, I don't care what news says or what we say or whatever. You got to just be your own person and do your own thing, legally, of course. But I don't know. I worry because a lot of these generations, mine included, I'm a millennial, they just don't have it. And that scares me.
It does. It is scary. You think about 9/11 and how we did come together as a nation after that. And I thought that was a real turning point until it wasn't. Similarly, as people think I can just listen to the media for my information, I don't have to be really responsible for it. As long as I hear it from CBS News, I'm fine. It's kind of the same thing like saying, I'm going to let the government take care of me and vote in the people who promise to take care of me. But what they don't understand is the government don't really care about you. They don't care about you. And as long as you're reliant on them, they can take it away as quickly as they can give it. You need to be self-reliant. You need to go through that hard work.
Never trust the government. We talked about this, I believe, on my show. Maybe it was this show. I'm blurring them now, but the DMV or whatever, like government run stuff just doesn't work. And until you are self-sufficient, as you said, I mean, just my one piece of advice to your listeners would be, don't trust the government to have your best interest. Because when you look at the government, you look at the people in government, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, I'll use a Republican there. They've been there forever. So they're getting something out of it, and a lot of the times it's money to be there, and they'll push what they need to push to make their lives better. I'm a big believer in term limits for this reason.
Yeah.
Government was not supposed to be a career. It was supposed to be something you did for your country or your town or your city, whatever it is. Term limits would fix a lot of these problems.
Yes, I agree.
I would think. And until we do things, and you know, again, I hope if Donald Trump gets in, I hope he does what he said he was going to do in the first term, which is drain the swamp and drain the garbage, because that's a big problem in our country too, not just the media, but the garbage that we have in Washington is just atrocious.
The amount of fraud, the amount of misspending, all of it is. I would love to see Donald Trump come in and bring in Elon Musk. I think that would scare so many people. It would scare. I think a lot of people are afraid of all of the rocks being turned over and what's going to crawl out from under them. But people, when the government and Kamala Harris, who is, I just want to make sure we correct the record here. She is Jamaican and Indian. She's not African American.
I just
want to make sure we clear that.
Yes.
When they say that they love you and they care about you, no, they don't. They are looking to get a job. They're looking to be elected so that they can tell you how to live your lives. No one knows better than you. You just have to kind of dig deep. You have to work to figure it out a little bit.
And I don't mean to pull a Trump here, Michelle, but like I get confused because you see articles all the time about Michelle Obama, I almost said, about Kamala Harris, where, you know, they tell us she's African American. They tell us she's, you know, the first VP of whatever descent. I get confused, and I really do. And I understand why Trump does, because, and I'm not saying that one way or the other. It's just when the media throws garbage at you, it's hard to keep track of. It really is. Like, I don't know anymore. I wish I knew and I felt comfortable with what came out in the press and what we hear and what we see.
It's really troubling that you can't.
And it's both sides.
Yeah.
It's both sides.
Both sides.
It is. It's both sides. So yeah.
Mike, it's great to talk to you. It's great to have you on the show, and I always enjoy being on yours. He's pretty brave. He's tell people where they can find you so they can see what you post and how you post.
Yes, so you can follow me on Twitter, Mike A. Sperrazza, Sperrazza.
Two R's, two Z's.
2 R's, 2 Z's, yes. I do most of my work on Twitter, or X now. We do have a radio show in Buffalo on the Financial Guys Media Network. We're live every Saturday, 1 to 3. We do a few podcasts a week, so you can download the Financial Guys app to listen to our stuff there too. Yeah, I guess I two of my mentors have been talking on the radio for 25 years, and they don't have a filter, just like President Trump doesn't either. And I just believe you gotta, if you have a platform, you gotta speak out right now, because if more people did, I really believe we'd be in a better spot. And I think people are scared to, rightfully so. You're afraid of the repercussions at work, at school, whatever it may be. So
and honestly, that is why I left the job that I had, which was one of the greatest jobs I could ever have hoped to have had. But it was too important to I'm watching people afraid to speak their mind, and I just thought, we're in a world of hurt right now. So like him, like Mike, and you can find him. Be brave, do good. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.